welcome to When Gen X Ruled the Multiplex, where I look at the films that were important to those of us who were born somewhere in the range of 1965 to 1980. 1985's Better Off Dead was the directorial debut of the splendidly named Savage Steve Holland, who also wrote the screenplay. Holland also directed a subsequent pair of teen comedies in the 80s, One Crazy Summer and How I Got Into College. These days he works largely in kids television and is known for creating Eek the Cat. 1985 was a big year for films with teen protagonists, many of which I've already looked at here, like Back to the Future, and Teen Wolf, and Weird Science, and The Breakfast Club. Better Off Dead slunk in under the radar. Reviews were generally tepid, and it didn't make much of an impact in theaters. These days, though, it's considered a minor cult hit, both for featuring a teenage John Cusack in an early starring role, and for its unexpected forays into surreality. We open somewhere in Northern California, in the suburban home of the Meyer family. Teen son Lane wakes up in his bedroom where his walls are covered with dozens of photos of his girlfriend Beth. Lane is played by John Cusack, whom we have seen in a small role in 16 Candles and a starring role in Say Anything. I apologize in advance for my very grainy screen caps, because Better Off Dead is not available streaming anywhere, and thus I'm working from a very muddy copy of Uncertain Origins. Alas, no Criterion Collection 4K Ultra HD release for Better Off Dead. Lane's father Al tries to outmaneuver the sinister paperboy, Johnny Gasparini, who has a habit of hurling the papers straight through the windows of the Meyer family garage. Al is played by David Ogden Stiers, Major Charles Emerson Winchester III on MASH. Johnny Gasparini is played by Damian Slade. I went to USC's film school with Damian Slade. He was a couple years behind me, and thus our paths never crossed much, but he did call me out of the blue one day to see if I had some extra footage he could use for a project, and throughout the call I was just slightly too cool to say, "Hey, you're the paperboy from Better Off Dead." Over breakfast, as Lane's nonverbal younger brother Badger, played by Scooter Stevens, snips coupons from the backs of cereal boxes to mail in for prizes, Mom Jenny serves the family a fine meal of soggy green boiled bacon. Jenny is played by Kim Darby, who starred opposite John Wayne in the 1969 film version of True Grit. While Lane gets dressed, Jenny and Al discuss their son's disturbing obsession with his girlfriend Beth. We see that every hanger in Lane's closet is adorned with a cutout photo of Beth's head. Next door to the Meyer home, French foreign exchange student Monique is staying with antisocial nerd Ricky and his overbearing mother, who makes no secret of her plan to have Monique become Ricky's live-in girlfriend. Ricky's mom is played by Laura Waterbury, while Ricky is played by Dan Schneider, famous to us Gen Xers for playing Dennis on the sitcom Head of the Class, and famous to millennials for producing a whole bunch of popular shows geared towards young viewers of their generation, including iCarly and Kenan and Kel and All That and Drake and Josh and many more. Monique is played by Last American Virgin star Diane Franklin, whom we saw playing one of the medieval princesses in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. While driving to tryouts for his school ski team, Lane encounters a pair of Korean-born brothers who challenge him to a drag race. One brother speaks no English and is played by Brian Imada, while the other learned English by watching legendary sportscaster Howard Cosell, and thus speaks in Cosell's distinctive style. He narrates the events of Lane's life via a loudspeaker mounted on the top of their car. This brother is played by Yuji Okamoto, most famous for playing Daniel's nemesis Chosen in The Karate Kid Part 2. Meanwhile, in her bedroom, Lane's girlfriend Beth is busy replacing a photo of Lane with a photo of another boy. Beth is played by Amanda Weiss, whom we have seen in A Nightmare on Elm Street and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The new object of Beth's affection turns out to be the hunky captain of the ski team, who has the preposterous name of Roy Stalin. Stalin is played by Aaron Dozier, who retired from acting immediately after this film. While Lane, Beth, and Lane's best friend Charles watch, Stalin effortlessly skis down the treacherous K-12 slope. Charles, who always wears a natty top hat on the ski slope in what I would like to think is a tribute to George Harrison in Help, is played by Curtis Armstrong, whom we have seen in Risky Business. While Beth and Stalin flirt, Lane tries out for the team and misses by the slimmest of margins. Beth earnestly explains to Lane that she wants to go out with someone more popular and better looking, so she dumps him. A heartbroken Lane drives home while the Korean brothers narrate his disgrace. Despondent over Beth leaving him, Lane tries to hang himself in the garage. Even though his attempt is unwittingly aided by his mother, he survives. He tells Charles he's going to win back Beth by flawlessly skiing down K-12. At the dinner table, Jenny makes some kind of horrible green glop that gains sentience and walks off of Lane's plate. From a kit ordered from cereal box coupons, Badger makes some kind of sophisticated laser blaster that blows stuff up. Wielding a switchblade comb in a menacing manner, Johnny tries to extort $2 from Lane to pay for the Meyer family newspaper subscription. subscription. My sister had a paper route when she was a kid, and the bane of her existence were people who wouldn't pay for their newspaper subscription because that would come right out of her salary. So I am firmly Team Johnny here. It is not nice to steal money from little kids, Lane. Lane's geometry class is taught by Mr. Kerber, who is played by the wonderful character actor Vincent Schiavelli, whom we saw playing a very similar role in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. All the students are really super duper excited about geometry, except for Lane, who crumples under the pressure while working equations in front of the class. In the lunchroom, Charles, who is always looking for a cheap high, snorts cubes of Jell-O like he's doing lines of coke. Lane makes a drawing of Beth that comes to life and taunts him, pointing out all his deficiencies. Once again, Lane decides to kill himself. Charles manages to talk him out of jumping off a bridge, but accidentally pushes him off anyway. Christmas rolls around. Lane's mom gifts the family with a stack of frozen dinners. Next door, Ricky gifts poor Monique with a framed photo of himself. Lane tries to kill himself yet again by gassing himself in the garage, but accidentally hits reverse and wrecks the garage door. Badger receives another of the items he's ordered from the back of a cereal box, a book on how to pick up trashy women. The mail carrier is played by the late character actor Taylor Negron, who played the pizza delivery guy in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Between Vincent Schiavelli as an eccentric teacher and Taylor Negron as a hapless service worker, and Amanda Weiss as the hero's unenthusiastic ex-girlfriend, Better Off Dead appears to be an unofficial part of the Fast Times at Ridgemont High cinematic universe. At a school dance, Lane and Charles sit by themselves, while on stage, Elizabeth Daily sings One Way Love and A Little Luck. Last episode, I looked at Scarface, which featured 2 songs on the soundtrack sung by Elizabeth Daily, and we've already seen her acting in both Valley Girl and Streets of Fire. And all of this suggests that Elizabeth Daily was a whole lot more ubiquitous in 80s films than I realized at the onset of this series. A lonely Monique introduces herself to Lane outside of the dance. There are tentative sparks between them, but they're interrupted by a possessive Ricky. On his way home from the dance, Lane is menaced by legions of paperboys who emerge out of the shadows and surround him on their bicycles, demanding payment. When Lane returns home, he finds Badger in his bedroom absolutely swarmed by trashy women. At the breakfast table, while Jenny cooks something with moving tentacles, Badger sends away for a kit to build his own space shuttle. Lane works after school at a burger joint. While shaping patties out of ground beef, he slips into a surreal hallucination in which he's a mad scientist who brings to life a hamburger animated via the claymation technique, who shreds a guitar while romancing a lady hamburger and singing Van Halen's Everybody Wants Some. Inspired by a tabloid article, Lane gets some paint thinner from the garage and decides to set himself on fire. His suicide attempt is interrupted by Monique, Ricky, and Ricky's mom, who stop by for a dinner party. Jenny serves an authentic French meal: French fries, French bread, French dressing, and Perrier. Ricky's mom mistakes Lane's paint thinner for a cocktail and blows up the house when she lights a cigarette. After Stalin insults Monique in the lunchroom, Lane challenges him to a race down the K-12. Monique surprises Lane by fixing up a junker Camaro he'd bought but had been unable to restore. Lane and Monique work together on the car to Howard Jones's Like to Get to Know You Well, and they fall in love. Lane takes Monique on a candlelight date to the burger joint and plays romantic saxophone music while she eats a frozen dinner. Nearby, the claymation hamburgers canoodle. The race day arrives. Stalin faces off against Lane, who is chased by a vengeful Johnny. Lane wins the race, and Beth offers to get back together with him. Instead, Lane defeats Ricky in a duel with ski poles and heads off with Monique. Lane and Monique drive to Los Angeles and make out in Dodger Stadium. As credits roll, Badger's homemade space shuttle bursts out of the roof of the Meyer house. John Cusack infamously had a meltdown at the premiere of Better Off Dead upon seeing the finished product for the first time. He bawled out Savage Steve Holland for making what he thought was a terrible film that would destroy his career. Cusack has modified his stance over the years and now seems cool with the film, but it's worth wondering what kind of film Cusack thought he was making. From the outside, it seems like Savage Steve Holland made exactly the film he set out to make, i.e. a haphazard and chaotic, surreal teen romp. Better Off Dead entered theaters when teen films were entering an earnest and heartfelt phase. As we've seen from looking at Pretty in Pink and The Breakfast Club and Say Anything, as we moved deeper into the 80s and young Gen Xers became more of an appealing target audience, filmmakers started to become concerned with making sure teens and preteens felt seen and heard by what was presented on screen. Going against the zeitgeist, Better Off Dead had no interest in being earnest and heartfelt. This is not a film that wants to speak to the hearts of teenagers. It has the outer trappings of a standard coming-of-age teen romance where the hero defeats his romantic rival and discovers the girl of his dreams has been beneath his nose all along, but it keeps veering off into nonsensical chaos. Of the films I've looked at thus far, it's probably probably closest in spirit to the Abraham Zucker spy satire Top Secret, in the way it keeps throwing rapid-fire gags at the audience just to see what sticks. It's not a bad strategy. There are probably 8 to 10 good laughs in Better Off Dead, which is a pretty solid ratio for a fast and cheap mid-80s teen romp. Tastes are going to vary. Either you're going to find a claymation hamburger strumming a guitar and singing Van Halen funny, or you're going to find it painfully stupid. Or you're going to find it painfully stupid at first and then think back on it and go, okay, that was so painfully stupid, it rotated back to being funny. And that's the charm of Better Off Dead. It's stupid, it's messy, and while John Cusack might have been initially appalled by what he and Savage Steve Holland had unleashed upon the world, there's a better than average chance it will make you laugh. Next time, I'm looking at a sweet romance that blossoms in the final hours before Los Angeles is obliterated in a nuclear attack. Miracle Mile. Take care, have a good week, and I'll see you then.